The top business stories live from the Sky newsroom. The White House attacks Amazon over alleged plans to display the cost of Donald Trump's tariffs, calling it a hostile and political act. Marks and Spencer admits that a cyber attack that caused chaos in its stores and online has led to empty shelves across the UK. Thus, America is trying to break us. The newly elected Prime Minister of Canada vows to fight back against Donald Trump. Very good afternoon and welcome to Business Live on this Tuesday with me, Darren McCaffrey. The White House has described Donald Trump's first 100 days as the most historic start in American history. It's certainly been the most eventful. We'll hear from the man himself later on this evening, of course, I think around 11 here on Sky News. But this afternoon, his press secretary and Treasury secretary have been defending his tariffs while taking aim at China and Amazon. Well, our business and economics correspondent Paul Kelso is with us. And Paul, let's start on Amazon, describing a move as hostile and a political act. What are they on about?
Yeah, curious, a very fast-moving story. This press briefing at the White House talking about the achievements, as they would see it, economically of the first 100 days. A question was asked about reports that Amazon is considering publishing on its website, the biggest consumer retail operator in the world, the price of tariffs, the contribution of tariffs to the total price paid by consumers. Pretty incendiary, literally spelling out how much consumers are having to pay because of Donald Trump's headline economic policy.
Almost to the point where you would say if you've got a meal in the United States, sometimes it's what the tax is.
Absolutely, like the taxes, you see it somehow spelt out. Of course, in Donald Trump's White House, that is a pretty inflammatory move. And we heard Caroline Levitt, his press secretary, spell out she'd just spoken to the president and set out his view that this was a hostile act. Let's hear what she said.
This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? And I would also add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm. So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Is it fair to say that Amazon's been caught a little bit on the hop about this because we were having different reactions as the afternoon goes on?
Absolutely. We heard it all there, didn't we? An attack on this response from Amazon because it goes to the heart of the criticism of tariffs and an attack on the trustworthiness and even the patriotism of Jeff Bezos' Amazon. Of course, he was at the inauguration. We got a response very quickly, about 90 minutes by my count. Amazon issued this statement, the first one. The team that runs our ultra-low-cost Amazon Hall store has considered the idea of listing import charges on certain products. Teams discuss ideas all the time. This was never a consideration for the main Amazon site, and nothing has been implemented on any Amazon properties. Now, quickly, Amazon Hall is a low-cost site, sells stuff at under $20. It's in beta at the moment, so it's not fully rolled out. Itself a reaction, an attempt to catch up with Shein and other Chinese direct-to-consumer companies that they're struggling to compete with. You'll note that statement didn't rule it out. Well, not long afterwards, we've had another statement from Amazon in which they say the idea of disclosing import charges on some products was never approved and not going to happen. An example, perhaps, of how presidential power works very directly in Donald Trump's White House.
Away from Amazon, and we heard it even in that statement from the press secretary there, you know, the focus is still very much on China, isn't it?
It is. And this press conference, which Amazon became the story, was to set out the big achievements as they would see it. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, was there. The questions to him were all about this trade war between the two biggest economies on the planet. And his view, as he said, was that it cannot work for the long. This is unsustainable for China with its retaliatory tariffs. But he wasn't able to say when any deals would be done, only to try and reassure markets that the uncertainty they found so crippling will end. Let's hear him.
President Trump creates what I would call strategic uncertainty in the negotiations. So he is more concerned about getting the best possible trade deals for the American people. We had 4 years of bad deals for decades of unfair trading, and we are going to unwind those and make them fair. What we are doing is we've created a process. I think the aperture of uncertainty will be narrowing, and as we start moving forward, announcing deals, then there will be certainty. But certainty is not necessarily a good thing in negotiating.
Well, there's not much certainty at the moment, is there, Paul? It's something businesses are crying out for. And what's fascinating here is that, yes, you've got that trade war with China, but you also still have that 90-day relief on tariffs for the rest of the world. But it is only temporary.
It is, and it leaves everyone on edge. And Scott Bessent there at least didn't avoid the central issue here, which was what's good for negotiations in Trump's mind is destructive to value in markets, has undermined global faith in America as a partner, an economic partner, never mind a security partner. He was asked, will you delay the 90-day delay to these tariffs? He wouldn't got drawn on that. He said they're talking, and we've heard this before, they've got 18 major trading partners, as they call it. He didn't spell them out. We understand the UK is in there. China's one of them. He says progress is being made on 17 of them, so they're not talking to China actively. He said he thought a deal with India was quite close. He called the outlines of a deal with South Korea. But trade deals take years to get right. And what he couldn't really answer was what the fundamental aim of these is. It to impose tariffs and thus raise money that can be used to fund tax cuts, or is it to secure a better deal for America? He said both, but they are opposing claims. And it's interesting.
If you get a deal, obviously the amount of tariffs you can get goes down.
Goes down, precisely. Yeah. So the tax. And here we have Scott Bessent, an investment banker, his whole career running an investment fund, a pretty traditional Wall Street kind of figure who is now the front man for, let's call it, a contentious economic policy at the very best.
Indeed, yes. Diplomatically put. Paul, always a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. Paul Kelso there. And don't forget, we will have full coverage of Donald Trump's big landmark speech tonight to mark 100 days in office. That is taking place in Michigan, and it will be on Sky News from 11 p.m. here in the UK. Do join us if you can for that. It will be probably quite the speech, I suspect. Talking about politics in North America, let's switch to Canada now, because Mark Carney's Liberal Party has won the election. They're capping a stunning comeback fueled by Donald Trump's annexation threats and the trade war. In his victory speech, Mr. Carney said that President Trump was trying to break Canada, and he vowed that America would never own its neighbourhood. Well, joining me now is Ilya Gridnev, who is the Canada correspondent at the Financial Times. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Just first of all, on the results themselves, I haven't actually checked them recently. The expectation was that the Liberals won't quite get a majority, or are they edging towards that? What's the arithmetic looking like where you are at the moment?
Well, yeah, it's certainly been a very long night here, and it's very close. I think the too close to call on several occasions in terms of majority. What is clear is that the Liberal Party has a minority government, and then will be able to govern with alliances or voting partnerships with some of the minor parties. The polling up into the election day was very positive for the Liberal Party. That showed that Carney was going to win very comfortably, but in the end, it was quite close between both the Conservatives and the Liberal Party.
Close indeed, but it does look like Mark Carney, of course, will continue as Prime Minister. And he's taken, we can see it on the podium there, Canada Strong. He's taken quite a strong position, unsurprisingly, because it's transformed the Liberal Party's position during this election campaign. Can that continue now, though, given the cold, hard reality of having to negotiate or deal with, at least, Donald Trump and the United States?
Well, that's right. I think a few people have said it's almost the easy part has just been done. Mr. Carney has to deal with Trump and also domestic issues. He has to bring the economy back up to speed. He has made all these promises to make Canada the strongest economy in the G7. He's going to build pipelines for energy, become a super energy power. So there's a lot on the agenda, and the devil's in the detail with a lot of these pledges.
In dealing with President Trump, though, Canada is only 10% of the US economy, in the sense that, it's a tenth as big, even though Canada is, I think, the 10th largest economy in the world. And thus, if Donald Trump does want to do damage, he could, couldn't he? And what can Canada do to mitigate that, or indeed to try and offset it, if you like?
Well, that's what Carney has been promoting. He's been very much on the front foot with reciprocal tariffs. He's been reminding the US that any tariff or trade war is ultimately going to affect US consumers. The prices are going up, as we saw in the segment before with the case of Amazon. Canada is sort of arguing the same point of view, saying that if you tax us or you put a tariff on us, it's going to affect American consumers, and that's ultimately going to come back to the political equation in midterm and in a national sense. So we have numerous lines of attack from Canada, reciprocal tariffs, and also playing to the long-standing historical relationship, cultural, social, and there's been a bunch of consumer bans. You can't buy American alcohol on shelves here anymore. And also Canadians have stopped traveling to the US. One of the popular destinations is some of the warmer states, especially during that long, cold Canadian winter. And Canadians have just stopped going there. So that's starting to impact the...
And just finding quickly, what's also fascinating about this is they are two very, very different people. I mean, Mark Carney is pretty establishment, people have attacked his lack of charisma, if you like, much more of a serious politician, if we can.
Yeah, I missed the last bit of that question, but essentially that's what Carney has been promoting himself as, the antidote to the chaos and to the haphazard economic policies of the Trump administration. He's promoted himself as a safe pair of hands, the economic steward of various crises, whether it was Brexit and the global financial crisis here in Canada. So he's promoted himself as a safe pair of hands and the right man for the moment.
OK, Ilya, thank you very much indeed for joining us there live from Toronto and the Financial Times this afternoon. Thank you. Now back here, Marks and Spencer have admitted that last week's cyber attack has led to gaps on some of its shelves. The incident led to chaos in some of its stores, and more than 500 million quid has been wiped off the retailer's value. Let's speak to Ashley Armstrong, business editor at The Sun. Ashley, as always, good afternoon to you. I'm very well, thank you. This is quite something, and it really has hit Marks and Spencer hard, given the fact that it's been going on for quite a few days now.
Yeah, I think that's what's extraordinary. Like when it first broke over the Easter weekend, that there was this disruption, and then it became a cyber incident, and then and the staggered approach that they've taken to this, when it was contactless or contactless payments, then click and collect, and then the really quite shocking decision to switch off online orders showed how deep these hackers would be. What's emerged so far today is actually we might know the group who are behind it. M&S aren't confirming it, but this group of teenage hackers has been linked to it. And what we're noticing is, because it's been going on so long, the ripple effect throughout that retail supply chain is now starting to be felt, and customers are really noticing it and feeling that frustration as well.
Well, noticing it, Ashley, in the sense that also, we've had quite a lot of emails into our blog today suggesting that they've gone to M&S stores in different parts of the UK and some of the shelves have been empty.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting. Seems to be kind of a hodgepodge approach to what's missing in shelves. We know that actually kind of maybe the ambient products, so that tends to be the cupboard staples, the things that don't go off, they're okay, but actually those fresh items, they're kind of affected. So I noticed that some people have been complaining about kind of chicken products or fresh drinks, sometimes sandwiches, is affecting store to store. But what it shows is like the monumental task that these employees at M&S have got on their hands, because they're having to do everything manually. What I know is that kind of this normal sales ordering processes that are also digitalized, it's a modern retailer, that's now all being kind of done manually, and it's really making it very difficult for them to figure out kind of where things should be across their network.
Yeah, and just very finally on that, Ashley, that's the really interesting thing here, isn't it? That the UK prides itself on having a very slick supermarket business. The idea that, the supply chain is very well oiled, but it relies so heavily on technology that it's very susceptible to these types of attacks.
Well, this is it. And I mean, if you think back, actually, M&S, it's a shame that M&S is being so targeted because it's really finally got its mojo back. It's actually selling products which people want, which wasn't the case for many years. But actually, it's been kind of part of its revival has been that it's a modern digital retail. It's been linking up online and it's like traditional store estate. And yet the cyber threat is there, you know. We've got them, all the big retailers now list it as one of the big risks that could affect business. And I think everybody else in the industry will be watching what's happening and think, I hope we're not next.
OK, indeed, Ashley. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Ashley Armstrong there from The Sun. OK, you're watching Business Live here on Sky News. Coming up next, the victim of the Tinder swindler who's come up with a new tool to stop others being scammed. We'll be talking about that after this break. Stay tuned.
We arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's futures.
This is an actual crime.
They don't care for that.
Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away. So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
Jubilation in the streets, while some emotional.
This is a political victory for Prime Minister Modi and his Hindu Nationalist Party.
I'm Neville Lazarus, and I'm Sky's reporter based in Delhi.
Companies like these are helping India in its trajectory to be a serious player in space exploration. Sky News, get the full story first.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story.
I'm ready. Are you?
Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
This is the game changer seat. Look, it even comes with binoculars. fly Emirates, fly better.
Very welcome back to Business Live. Now, Prunella Seohom was conned out of thousands of pounds by a man posing as a wealthy diamond mogul. She was just one of many whose stories were told in a Netflix documentary, the so-called Tinder Swindler. Well, today, Prunella has launched a new tool to help others avoid similar scams. And I spoke to her a little earlier and began by asking her if she could talk through what had happened to her.
What led me here is that I experienced a very high-profile romance scam, which involved a fake identity and someone who had taken up a fake persona and pretended to be someone that they were not. And this I endured for almost a year. So for me, I would like to take away that pain from anyone that could ever experience this.
And it is used as a famous case, isn't it? But this is something that does affect millions of people here in Europe and indeed around the world.
Yes, definitely. And especially with the rise of AI and deepfake, it is involving even more. Before, for example, people could take on someone else's identity. Now you can create a totally new one with the help of deepfake, and especially with voice cloning as well.
So talk to us that you are trying to set up a verification platform. What does that look like? Where could it be used?
Well, we have just launched Identifier today worldwide, so we cover more than 250 countries, and it is an identity verification platform for peer-to-peer. So it's solely for the consumer, so you can identify yourself securely and even between countries. So it's not solely in the UK. So let's say, for example, you want to buy a stereo from someone in Madrid, you can identify yourself before doing that. Or if you want to rent a vacation home somewhere else in another country, you can also identify between the countries.
In saying that, many people might be familiar with some of these verification tools already. I mean, if you want to set up a bank online, for example, you have to go through a whole series of systems. Is it quite similar to that? I mean, I know when I've set up a bank online, I need to show my passport and then I need to make a little video for them so that they can work out that I'm the same person.
Yes, this is the same system, but it's solely so you can do it between each other, because it is solely today used for the company, so you will identify yourself towards the company. But even today, you can ask the person with this Identifier app to identify themselves, like when they are calling, for example. But it is the same system. You, for the highest level for the gold, you scan your passport, you pick up the NFC chip in it, and you do the live biometric with your face and with your camera. So we can detect any type of deepfake that would have been behind that camera.
And this is in regards to, you know, your famous documentary is called The Tinder Swindler, obviously.
Yeah.
This is not just about, you know, dating apps. This is about buying things, all sorts of different interactions you might well have.
Yeah, it's all sort of interaction. And I mean, especially if you want to buy something online, or let's say you even want to know who your teenager is sitting and gambling with behind the screen. Like, is it another teenager or is it someone else? So it's not only focusing on the fraud perspective, it's also focusing on building a new digital trust. Because with the deepfake and with the AI that it is involving today, we are sort of losing that digital trust that we used to have.
But it relies on both people, doesn't it, essentially? You know, yes. It still needs an element of trust, if you like.
Absolutely. So, I mean, when you send this type of identification, it's not that you send your information over before someone else have identified themselves, for example. So both ends need to identify themselves, and you decide on what type of information you want to share with them. So I think it is a very good tool, and I wish that I had this tool back in the days, many years ago, when I went through this deep. So I am super proud to have this company finally launched. It's been years in the making, so definitely very proud to have it out there.
But just on this, you know, there'll be people watching this, though, going, I mean, you can video phone call anyone. I mean, are we being too complicated about this? Why don't we just do the old-fashioned thing of calling someone up and having a conversation with them?
Well, I mean, that worked before. It doesn't really work today, because
it kind of does. As in, like, I mean, AI is not that advanced that you could have a conversation with it on video phone, and I think most people would know if it's a real person or not. Now, that might change, but today, really?
No, today, actually, I could have given you a call and pretended to be Barack Obama if I wished for. So, no, the technology is absolutely out there, and the people on the top who are using this, these are the fraudsters and everyone who are using this type of technology. So that is, I wouldn't agree with that. The technology is definitely there. So it is very easy today to fake someone's face and in live and even doing a conversation like you and me are doing right now. So
okay,
it's definitely there.
Okay, yeah, I don't know, maybe not. This is where you tell me that you're actually AI and you've called me in this entire conversation, but I'm sure you haven't. Fenella, thank you very much indeed, and good luck with the app.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
There you go. We're just going to bring you up to date with some breaking news, and this is coming from the US Commerce Secretary, who is talking about tariffs in particular regard to vehicles that are built in the United States to try and help the domestic automobile association, if you like, saying that they are willing to adjust, if you like, or give a break to cars, vehicles that are manufactured in the United States. Talk about, it seems, maybe a relief of 15%. He's saying that those cars built in the United States will get a 15% offset for the value of those vehicles against parts imported. So essentially trying to help, it seems, the domestic market in the United States. It's all coming in at the moment, and we'll have full detail later on this evening about how it's going to sort itself out. That's it from Business Live from me. Back tomorrow. Mark Austin is up next with the News Hour. Goodbye.